An old Bavarian farm. Snow on the ground. Footprints appear from the forest, crossing the fields toward the house. None seem to lead back. Inside, the family hears footsteps above their heads in the attic. Days later, 6 people are dead, stacked like cordwood in a barn, and yet someone keeps the stove warm. The cows fed, the bread cut. Police will follow rumors of a ghost in the attic, a missing key, even consult a medium in a city far away. A century later, one question remains. Who walked in that night, and why did no one ever walk out? On a small farmstead called Hinterkaifeck, 5 people lived beneath one roof. Andreas Gruber, 63, his wife Kazilia, 72, their widowed daughter Victoria Gabriel, 35, and Victoria's children, Kazilia, 7, and Joseph, 2. Fields ran long to the tree line. The barn joined the house. A maid slept there too, Crescens Rieger, working the rooms through 1920 to 1921, stoking the stove, listening to the house breathe. At night, she heard it change. It wasn't the usual timber creak. She heard footsteps above the bedrooms, as if someone was moving back and forth in the attic. Later, in 1952, Rieger was re-interviewed. She said her bedroom door opened around midnight, almost daily, called it a haunting, and said she told the Grubers and Victoria. She left the farm at the end of August 1921. Her actual police statement on 24th of April 1922 paints a colder picture. Local men who knew the farm, threats, petty thefts, and one sexual incident she said she witnessed between Andreas, the father, and his daughter Victoria. The farm closed in around the 5 who remained. Church on Sundays, hard soil underfoot, and a roof that seemed to listen. Winter thinned. The calendar crept toward spring. Another maid would soon take Rieger's room, and somewhere above the ceiling the footsteps were waiting. Years earlier, the family crossed a line no village could ignore. In 1915, a complaint reached the district court at Neuburg an der Donau, incest, Blutschande, between father and daughter, Andreas and Victoria. Who carried the accusation to the authorities is lost to the record. The court convicted them for acts dated 1907-1910. Andreas served a year. Victoria served a month. The judgment never left the house. It sat at the table and watched every meal. Before that winter of shame, Victoria had married a local farmhand, Karl Gabriel, in March 1914. War swallowed the wedding. He was conscripted, sent to the Western Front, and reported killed in action on 12th of December 1914 near Neuville-Saint-Vaast at Arras, France. Comrades and a superior later affirmed his death, and the notices at home agreed. Rumors said he survived. In September 1919, Victoria bore a son, Joseph. The closest neighbor, Lorenz Schlittenbauer, a widower, Catholic farmer, and village head, had been seeing her. He doubted he was the father. Then he asked to marry Victoria, but Andreas refused. He went to the gendarmerie and filed a new incest complaint, naming the old man as the continuing abuser. Andreas was jailed in pre-trial detention, then released when testimony would not hold. Then came the back and forth. Schlittenbauer pulled his claim, later confirmed it under oath. He said he was Joseph's father, then changed his mind. He agreed to adopt Joseph, then fought over support. A lump sum settlement appears in the records. Locals spoke of further private payments. The case closed with no new conviction. Lorenz was born in 1874, dutiful and sometimes officious by reputation. He buried a first wife in 1918, sought a future with Victoria, and remained tied to Hinterkaifeck by desire, proximity, and pride. In village mouths, he was Joseph's likely father. In the case file, he is the man who opened the barn in 1922, who sued his accusers for calling him a murderer and who was never charged. Late March 1922, Upper Bavaria. Hinterkaifeck stopped feeling empty. Andreas Gruber found a Munich newspaper no one nearby subscribed to. A lock on the machine room sat broken. A house key went missing. He traced fresh tracks from the forest to that door and saw no trail back. That night, footsteps moved above the bedrooms. He searched the attic and found no one. He told neighbors but refused help. On 31st March 1922, the new maid, Maria Baumgartner, arrived with her sister for the handoff. By nightfall, the farm was quiet and the stove still warm. Before dawn on 4th April, the quiet broke. Mechanic Albert Hoffner waited in the yard, got no answer, fixed the engine on his own, and left uneasy. That afternoon, neighbor Lorenz Schlittenbauer returned with 2 men. The barn door gave. 4 bodies lay in the straw. Andreas, Cecilia, Victoria, and little Cecilia. Inside, Maria and the toddler Josef were found dead in their rooms. Money remained. The animals were fed. Fires had burned in the stove. Someone stayed with the dead for days. A passerby later reported that someone lifted a lantern to blind him, and that foul-smelling smoke rose from the oven chimney. Doctors arrived from Munich and performed the autopsies in the barn. The autopsy showed that 7-year-old Cecilia survived for several hours after being struck in the head, and during that time pulled out tufts of her own hair. A year later, during demolition, a mattock with dried blood was found hidden in the loft. A penknife turned up in the hay. The investigation faltered. Onlookers entered the rooms and moved the bodies, contaminating the scene. Only 5 crime scene photographs exist, 2 in the barn, 1 of the maid's room, 1 of Joseph's bassinet, and 1 exterior shot. A final indignity followed. The victims' skulls were removed and sent to Munich for study, then lost during World War II. The exact circumstances are unknown. The family lies buried in Weidhofen without them. Theories multiplied. Robbery faded once cash and valuables were found. Suspicion circled those who knew the farm. Schlittenbauer's conduct at the scene fueled years of talk. He filed and won slander suits, then died uncharged. Other names surfaced from statements. Laborer Peter Weber, who allegedly spoke of killing Andreas for money. Anton and Karl Bickler with farmhand Georg Siegel, tied by the ex-maid's claims and Siegel's knowledge of the mattock. The Thaler brothers, police noted them as suspects for scouting the property beforehand, asking who slept where, eyeing locks and the machine room, learning routines. In 1951, the Gump brothers were accused by their sister. Anton Gump was briefly remanded, then released, and by 1954 the case was dropped. No proof followed, and the occult bled into the file. With leads failing, officials even consulted mediums. Seances were reportedly held using the victims' skulls. The farm was razed in 1923. In 1955, the case was closed. A 2007 Police Academy review reread the evidence and declined to name its main suspect.